From stressed out speaker to seven-figure mentor and course creator with David Newman. How the heck did he do that? Coming up right now on The Rise to the Top. Hello and welcome, my friends, to The Rise to the Top podcast, episode number 15. Time is flying. I'm your host, of course, David Siteman Garland, aka DSG. Great to have you here. I am very excited about today's episode, bringing on one of my good friends who we go all the way back to 2009, Mr. David Newman. Now, David Newman is an expert on what we call professional speaking, right? So he is a longtime professional speaker, but now has taken that expertise on professional speaking and all that kind of stuff that goes along with that and turned it into now a seven-figure business teaching others. And it's incredible what he's been able to do with online courses and now in mentorship program. He is just absolutely dominating in this industry and could not be a nicer guy or a more transparent guy. So in this conversation here today on the podcast, I wanted to bring on David just to tell us, exactly what he's done and these different pillars along the way. How did he go from a stressed out speaker that was on the road basically the entire year, with his little rolly suitcase running around, to being a coach and then being super stressed out about having something on his calendar every 5 minutes, to a successful online course creator, and now to an online course creator and mentor that's gone from, six figures then to multiple six figures. And then last year, for the first time ever, which I'm very proud of, just very proud of him and the hard work he's put in, he did 7 figures in revenue in 2017. So we're going to go very in depth on all of this. There is an incredible amount of juicy tidbits. And also you can follow along with the show notes, of course, at therisethetop.com/episode 15. So without further ado, let's get at it. Alrighty, so joined by the one, the only, the other David. Well, I'm the other David. He's the cooler David. David Newman, how are you, sir?
I am fantastic, and it's so great to be here on the Super Duper Amazo podcast.
Yeah, well, you know what? I appreciate that. That was one of the names we were debating on having it, calling it, was the Super Duper Amazo podcast, but we went with the Rise to the Top, David, remind people here, this is funny, we actually met for the first time many, many, many moons ago. Can you remember, by the way? Do you remember?
I can remember, yes. It was at the National Speakers Association Winter Conference in Phoenix in 2009.
Which is hard to believe, now that we're shooting this in 2018, that was nearly 10 years ago. And for context here, this is what's interesting to me, and the great setting up for this conversation, is that when I went out there, I was interested in learning how to be a professional speaker. So I spoke to a mutual friend of ours named Scott Ginsberg, and he said, you got to come out to this event. There's all these speakers. There's speakers that help speakers. There's all this kind of stuff. So when I went out there, I was really kind of paraded around, if you will, by Scott, saying, hey, this is my friend David. He's just a young guy. He's trying to figure out about speaking. And there were several really cool people that I would put on the pedestal as being like, these were the best people. These are the people that mentor speakers. They help speakers. They've got killer speaker businesses. That's a mouthful. And David, you were right at the top of that echelon, my friend.
Well, thank you. But but I got to tell you though, even back then, you had the hustle, dude. I mean, you had your show, you had like these local sponsors, you were doing, you were interviewing your brains out, you were networking, you were doing these local events. So, don't say that you came to NSA to learn from all the successful people. You just learned from maybe a different brand or a different context for the success. Because I immediately said, I don't know who this guy is, but whoever he is going places.
Right. Well, listen, I appreciate that. I was doing, I think, probably way too much back there. But what's funny, David, to me, and this is always fascinating, is that for every industry, and I don't care if it's professional speaking or throwing a baseball or, eating only small plants under 2 centimeters for your diet. I don't know what it is, right? But for every industry, there's people that are teaching that industry. They're the go-to people that teach you how to get into that industry or even how to grow in that industry, depending on where they are in the spectrum, right? And for you, your market is professional speakers, right? So for your brand and business, is that fair to say? Is that the best way to categorize who you serve with your brand and business?
It is extremely close. So there are all kinds of professionals who speak. So there are obviously keynote speakers that speak full time, but there's also consultants who speak and trainers who speak and coaches who speak. So that category of sort of thought leading expert, I call speaking driven professionals, meaning that they might do some speaking, but their business model might also be a speaking plus business model. So and a great combination that you and I have talked about a lot is speaking plus courses. Speaking plus courses, baby. And so that's what propelled me from being an exhausted kind of one-on-one speaker marketing coach to having a scalable, now 7-figure a year business, because the course opened the door to separating my revenue generating potential in my coaching practice from the clock on the wall. Revenue no longer tied to clock on the wall. And then some innovations and some other things I've added to the course that make it, more of a full experience. But I think that's the key, is speaking plus business model. Whether that for you guys listening, that might be speaking plus training, speaking plus coaching, speaking plus online course, speaking plus CEO roundtables, speaking plus facilitation, speaking plus video, speaking plus webinars. I mean, it's endless, and those are my people.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now, first of all, I want to congratulate you on the massive, ginormous milestone of hitting 7 figures, and that's safe to say that was what? Is that 2017? Just to give us a scope, or is that?
That is correct.
Okay, so 2017, and I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, 2016 you were maybe in the 5 to 700,000. Was it something like that?
That is correct. Yep. Actually, 2015 and 2016 were both in that 500K plus range, most of which is course driven revenue.
Right, which makes sense. Now, here's what we're going to do is we're going to break down in this conversation today, which I think people are going to find absolutely fascinating, right? Is kind of these different pillars along the way. Do you know what I mean? How you got into the courses, how that first went, how you got to kind of the 6 or multiple 6 figures, and then how we've kind of scaled up to 7. Because I think that those are very different stories, and we're going to find out all the trials and tribulations and shenanigans along the way. So let's go all the way back, all right, to David Newman, tired speaker. Okay. So what first got you into the world of online courses? What was attractive to you? What was your motivation for saying, hey, you know what? I am going to take something that I know and turn it into a course?
Well, let's actually go back just a half a step before, which is David Newman, tired and broke speaker.
Let's talk about that guy. Let's talk about that guy.
So it took me about 3 years to figure out the speaking business, which I started back in 2002, back in the dark ages. Then I said, okay, let's get the speaking ramped up. Did that from 2005 to about 2009 when you and I met. Then I started to pivot into, okay, a lot of people are asking me, hey, David, can I pick your brain? Can I take you to lunch? Can I take you to dinner? Can I buy you breakfast? How are you doing the speaking thing? And I did all of this for free. I just was sitting down with these people. We'd have phone calls. We'd have Skype calls. We'd have lunch. We'd have breakfast. We'd have coffee. I drank a lot of coffee, still drink a lot of coffee like you do, my friend. And I was just helping these folks. And then a good friend of mine, who's still a friend to this day, he says to me, you should really teach this stuff. And I said, no, speakers are broke. Speakers are silly. Speakers are crazy. That's never going to work. I couldn't, I want to keep going, talking to my big corporate clients and doing my big seminars and my big corporate training gigs and all this stuff. He says, no, you should really you should teach what you know to other speakers and experts. So this was my first client. I took him on. We had a great time. Did not charge anywhere near enough money, but that's what kicked me off into doing a lot of one-on-one coaching.
Okay, so you kind of went so you went from just to kind of quickly paraphrase here too. So you went from guy only on stage, like basically for those years you mastered it, but if you weren't out there on stage getting paid, you weren't getting paid, right? Now, how much would you like? What would be a high end speech for you then? Just curious.
I was charging like $4,500. And I was just kind of touching six figures a year. I was like in the 90, 100, 110K per year income category back then.
Got it. And you would have like the rolly bag, right? Like you'd be you'd be rolling onto the plane. You'd be rolling into the city. You'd be rolling out. And you're married with kids. You have one kid or two kids?
Two. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Kids.
2 kids. And so you live that life, that speaker life.
I absolutely did. It's so funny you talk about the rolly bag because what I teach today, and I tell my clients this all the time, you have to have a very healthy ego in this business because one day, or I'm sorry, 1 hour, you are a rock star, people coming up to you, David, that was a great speech. Oh my gosh, can you autograph my program? This was terrific. So you are at the height of rock stardom when you get off stage. An hour later, you're just some nobody dragging a bag through an airport.
That's funny. It's so true, right?
And you go up to the gate agent, you say, do you realize who I was an hour ago? Do you realize the adulation and the applause and the love? Like, sir, pass along your boarding pass.
Yeah, you show them a picture. They're like, okay, that's great. Anyway, back to the line. The end of the line for you. I love it. I love it. So you hone this expertise. And I think this is always an important thing to mention because at the end of the day, if you're going to create a successful online course and mentorship program and these different things that we do for people, you really got to have, as Gary Vaynerchuk would call, the chops. Right? So meaning you got to have the background and the wherewithal to do this. And you have this, David. I mean, meaning you live this life for years and years and years. So this guy says you should teach it. You say, no one's going to pay for that. You say, let's try it. So then you get into coaching. Tell us about the coaching, because this is always interesting. It's a great kind of transitional thing here too.
For sure. And, coaching, one-on-one coaching, everybody wants to fill their practice, fill the calendar, get more clients. I did that, David. I show a slide now in my presentation where it's a 5-day work week, and there are 27 1-hour blocks of coaching time. So that's more than 5 hours per day, every day.
I'm getting anxiety. Like, I'm not an anxious person. I think I just got goosebumps, not in a good way. Bad goosebumps.
I'm getting a rash.
Yeah.
You're getting goosebumps. I'm getting a rash. I became a prisoner of this business. So, and so here's what it maxed out at about $200K a year. And I realized, okay, well, I guess I better start working nights and weekends. And there's no way, of course, I'm kidding about the nights and weekends. Once you hit that dollars for hours maximum, and as our friend Michael Port likes to say, book yourself solid. I'll tell you, gang, you do not want to book yourself solid. That is a myth. That is crazy town, because you're not going to get a chance to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get scatological here, but I will tell you there have been days that I have not had a chance to go to the bathroom.
No, I mean, literally, because think about that for a second. I mean, you went from, let's just call it, let's call it 100K, which is great, to 200K, which is great, but not all 200Ks are created equal. Okay. I mean, like, that's the thing to keep in mind here, because, I'm sure there's plenty of people right now listening to this podcast, right, that are like, look at these 2 David jerks sitting here talking about how 200K wasn't good. Well, 200K is fantastic. The problem is exactly what you just said, is that what would you say on a 1 to 10 scale at that point? What was your kind of happiness level with your business?
My happiness level was probably a 6, which meant it was a 10 with my clients, because I loved every client and every engagement. It was like doing jigsaw puzzles or crossword puzzles. It was always fun to get in there and apply your expertise. But lifestyle, so 10 on the work, 1 on the lifestyle, and that averages out to 5.5.
Which will round up to 6, okay? So you decided, all right, so you're doing this, and exactly, like, where are you going to go from here, right? Because it's one of those things, it's like, well, I could try to increase my rates. Of course, there's going to be some kind of cap with that at some point, where people are going to be like, you're the most expensive man in America. You can start working nights and weekends. Horrible idea, right? Or you could come up with another plan. What did you decide to do, and what kind of motivated you? Was there a tipping point, or was there something that happened?
Totally. So let me tell you the story. I am at another National Speakers Association event, and a guy comes up to me. He basically buttonholes me and grabs me by the lapel and says, David Newman, come here. I want to know, and he's kind of pointing, he's jabbing his finger into my shoulder here. I want to know why you don't offer group coaching. Because you're too expensive. I can't hire you one-on-one. I want to work with you. I need to work with you. Why don't you offer group coaching? And God bless this guy. I spent 3 minutes telling him all the reasons I don't want to do group coaching. That's not my business model. That would dilute my offerings. That would cheapen my brand. That wouldn't work. He stopped me. He looked at me. He said the words that I will never forget to this day. He says, David, maybe you didn't hear me. I am telling you how I want to give you money, and you're not listening. So I said, whoa, okay, mic drop moment. I said, all right, you got me. If I create a group coaching program, would you be the first one to sign up for it? He said, I would. And so I created this program. It took me about 6 to 8 weeks, create this group coaching program, sent out some emails, got some more people to come in. It was a $1,200 program. It was 10 weeks of live group coach, not live in person, but live on the phone, live on the web. And so what I realized is that for basically 10 hours of my time, I had just gotten paid $12,000. So this is a pretty good gig right here. So then I started doing this group coaching. Now, I'm a slow learner. I'm always the slow kid on the bus, David, and you know this because we've talked about this. I did that program 13 times live led. 13 times.
I did not know that you did that 13 times. I love it.
I did it 13 times in real time, meaning with a start date, an end date, a cohort of people going through it. And then I come across David Siteman Garland. And awesome.
Sorry.
That's it.
That's why when I come in, I make that sound.
That's it, right? So this is like now 2012, 2013. The skies open, the clouds part, and I go, wait a minute. If I record this is all like a huge insight. Like I'm saying it's like wide-eyed, childish wonder. If I record this, I never have to deliver that program again. And I can just answer questions, and we can have a Facebook group, and we can have some bonus Q&A sessions, and wouldn't this be fantastic? So that's what I did. And I remember the very first time that I launched this course according to your template and according to your genius. Here's what I did out of pure habit. I said, okay, we're doing the launch, we're doing the email, we're doing the video series, we're opening the cart. I open up my planner and I open up my Google Calendar and I start marking the weeks. This is week 1, this is week 2, this is week 3. And I'm saying, when are these sessions again? Are these at noon or are these at 2 o'clock? And then it struck me, wait a second, there's no sessions. There's no time on my calendar required to deliver this because people are going to invest in this course. They are going to love the course. It's going to be totally self-guided. I have to schedule a bonus Q&A call and maybe a bonus webinar, and I'm done. And it was unbelievable. This feeling, literally the feeling in my body going, okay, something just majorly changed in my entrepreneurial business. I can build it once and sell it over and over and over and over, and I'm free. And I remember, so you had this fabulous mastermind program a couple of years after that, and I actually asked on one of our calls, because I was still so used to that old model, I was like, what do you guys do every day? Like, how do you actually fill your time?
And we're all sitting there like in our underwear, like, I think we're gonna put on pants at some point. I think, do you know?
So yeah, you got Renee saying, I go out and we have fun, and Nick says, I take my kids to the park, and you're saying, we're having date nights and we're having fun with the babies and all this. I was like, oh my God, you mean a business that's based on freedom? And I'll tell you, slow kid on the bus. This took quite a while to sink in. But that was a turning point back in 2013 when I started doing that. And that's really when we started to get into the 300K years and the 400K years of just doing more and more and more of this I call it asynchronous value delivery, meaning I put hundreds of hours of work in on the front end, but then it's a self-service thing. And I now have I have like 500 plus, 600 plus graduates of that program. And that's when I added the mentorship. So in 2015, I added the mentorship component. We can talk about that later. But it was a force multiplier and a revenue multiplier. But I never had to do that kind of grind again. You're always marketing. We're always looking to help more people, reach more people, build the list, build the Facebook routine, build the webinar routine. All of that is great. All of that is fun, frankly, for me. But taking the grind out of the business, David, was so huge.
Oh, I get it. I mean, I remember actually at that mastermind, I want to say you showed us like your calendar and everyone had like a stress panic attack because at the time you had so many appointments and so many things on there. And, you're a guy, David, who thrives on other people too. Like you love working with people, right? That's a good thing for you. But you also kind of became your own worst enemy because you were doing it all the time, 24/7. There was no time for you or to actually have your own thoughts. Now, I want to pick apart some of the things in this first part of the story before we kind of get to the multiplier. Is that cool?
Sure.
All right.
You bet.
Now, first of all, for those that don't know, your flagship program is called what?
It's called the Speaker Profit Formula.
Okay, Speaker Profit Formula. And by the way, I want to say it used to have a different name. It was like Speaker Marketing Workshop, right?
Yes. So actually, here's how this evolved. When it was live-led group coaching 13 times, it was called the Speaker Marketing Toolkit. When it was just the standalone course, it was the Speaker Marketing Workshop. And now that we have the mentoring and all the kind of the support behind it, it's now the Speaker Profit Formula. So it's definitely an evolution.
Okay, cool. So now let's go back in kind of the earlier iterations. Well, this, in general, as you know, right? And this is music. You know this, but this is something that it's very important for everyone to understand, that the most successful courses, mentoring programs, whatever you want to call it, coaching programs for that matter, have a specific outcome associated with it. With your program, what's kind of the goal? What are you trying to move students from A to Z? What's kind of the transformation that you hope happens?
So it's really three different kinds of speakers. And so for the first kind of speaker who has probably not monetized their speaking hardly at all, they're either a seasoned executive and now they're looking at launching a speaking business, or they're just basically a new speaker. Getting them from zero speaking income to about $10,000 a month that's track one. Track two is the already working speaker who's maybe making $5,000 or $10,000 a month and wants to add another $5,000 or $10,000 a month. So maybe they're speaking twice a month. They'd like to speak 4 times a month. Maybe they're speaking for a $3,000 fee. They really should be speaking for a $5,500 fee. So elevating and escalating that mid-career speaker to more of a stable and consistent speaking revenue model is track two. And then track three, and I get excited about all of these, but the ones that I really make my heart sing when you talk about being a student of the game and having your stuff together, Gary Vee style, etc., is we've now worked with some very, very successful veteran speakers, folks that are 20, 25, 30 years in, members of the Speakers Hall of Fame, folks that are either rebooting or pivoting or changing topics, or maybe the marketplace has shifted and they want to shift along with it. Maybe they've had a fantastic career 10, 15 years ago, but a lot of their clients have retired or moved on, and they want to get back in the game. They want to recharge, refresh, and reboot. So the advanced speaker might be making $10,000, $20,000 a month already, but they want to leverage that. They want to scale that. They want to accelerate that even further. So really, but those three outcomes, it's very important because you talk about this all the time. Know your buyers better than they know themselves. What are they? What do they want? What do they need? What are they hungry for? And when we show up on their radar with our course or with our mentoring, how will they slap their forehead and go, oh my gosh, thank God I found David Siteman Garland. Thank God I found Renee Christine. Thank God I found David Newman, because this is exactly what I want and need.
Perfect. And I love that how, and every course creator, every successful program creator should be able to answer the question just like that. Like they might not have 3 tracks, right? They might have 1, but having that specific outcome, or depending on who it is, what that specific outcome is very, very important. Now, going back here to that first, we'll call it the several $100,000 days, which are fantastic. I mean, not days, years, which are fantastic. Okay. In those days, before we talk about that scaling up, which I think is going to be super interesting, before we talk about that, let's talk about those several $100,000 years. What would you say was the key to growing, let's say your email list, your customers? Where did your customers come from? Where did your customers come from at that time?
So part of it, I had a little bit of a leg up because I had a pretty big email list going, and big being relative, right? So it's about 12,000 people, which, in some worlds is very tiny, in some worlds is very huge. In my world, it's kind of okay after, 5, 6, 7 years kind of batting around in this world. So my initial sales came from my email list. As everyone's initial sales, you can have 2,000 people on your list, and your initial sales will come from your email list. But at some point, you're going to run out of, saturate your list, and then you got to get some fresh people and some new folks that you want to help and some new folks that you want to serve. So I did webinars. I started to dabble in some Facebook ads. I started to do some joint ventures, some JV webinars with cool, smart people where we had a compatible audience and a relevant offer for each other's list. And each of these things would add 150 people, 250 people, 400 people, 500 people. And I think the thing that you teach that is so important to this list building process, it is about quality. It is not about quantity. It is, let me repeat that in case people missed it, in case you had your blinker on, you're making that right turn in the car. It is all about quality of your list. It is not about the size of your list. If you can be hyper relevant and build a relationship, a human to human relationship with your email subscribers, where first you're looking to help and serve, you're not looking to pitch and peddle, they will buy from you like nobody's business. And I think the other thing that helped, like you, David, when I saw you and the kind of marketing that you did, very authentic, very transparent, showing your family life, showing your home life, being a 3-dimensional human being. So we know you love the Blue Jays. We know you love hockey. We know you love
the Blues. It's the Blues, not the Blue Jays. That's
for
baseball.
God's sakes.
Darn it.
Clearly, I'm not a sports fan.
I gotcha. It was like in the movie. What's that movie? There's that movie with Amy Schumer where she's like the Orlando Blooms. That's my favorite team. I gotcha.
I'm at the Amy Schumer level of sports intelligence.
I got it. Go ahead.
That is correct. But here's the deal. The way to grow your list is to show your freak flag, right? You got to be you. You got to infuse your personality with what you're marketing and who you're marketing to. Because as soon as you start to go quote unquote corporate, as soon as you start to go sterile, as soon as you start to, try and keep things clean and not offend anybody, you're going to lose that core audience that loves you for being you, and they would buy anything that you had to sell just because it comes from someone that they admire and like and trust.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's 100% nail on the head, because at the end of the day, your personality, I'm talking about everybody that's listening to this, your personality is going to attract certain people and it's going to repel certain people. And there's going to be a certain amount of people in the middle that aren't attracted or repelled, right? You want to focus on category 1, the people that are attracted to you, right? That's it. You really do not care about the rest of them. And that is a great point of infusing that kind of stuff. And I've noticed that really, David, in every industry, and especially, I mean, really every industry it's applicable to. But even if you're in something as some people would call quote unquote boring, it becomes even more important of infusing yourself. You're the person that is the accountant that's always on roller skates. Do you know what I mean? Like there's ways of infusing it in there that are very, very important. And Dave, that's a great point for pointing that out. Now I want to ask too, in this, we'll call it again, the several $100,000 years, which are fantastic. What were some, if you want to pick one or two out, or mistakes, trials, tribulations, anything that you went through and had to kind of battle through to get to that next level?
Well, I know you teach this, and it's funny because this is one of your teachings that I went against, probably to my great chagrin. You talk about the biggest danger to our really online business success, but specifically online course success, is thinking, okay, I've launched this once or twice. What's my next program? What's my next course? What's my next thing I'm doing? And you haven't even scratched the surface on the first program or the first course. Now, this is so funny, right? Because I'm the same guy that did my speaker marketing workshop 13 times, live led, totally squeezed that completely dry before making it into a course. I launched my course once or twice. I said, okay, you know what? We need to have a book marketing course. And now we need to have a coaching marketing course. And now we have to have a sales training course. And I went course crazy.
Right. I want to say at one point, right. I say at one point you had like at least 4 or 5, something like that.
4 or 5 going in rotation, figuring, okay, January is speaker month, February is book month, March is coaching month, April is consulting month. And, this is so on point because you can't be the consulting guy and the coaching guy and the book guy and the speaking guy. So one of the key things that you and I talked about on multiple occasions is, right, you want to be known as the blank guy. I want to be known as the speaking guy. If you want to build a speaking-driven business, you come to me. Now, do speakers have books? Yeah, some do, but some don't. Authors have books, right? Do all speakers do coaching? No. Do all coaches do speaking? No. So it was tangential, it was related, but it wasn't always relevant. So what I'm doing now, fast forward to today, I am doing what you recommend, which is so smart, right? So your tribe is course creators. And the operational question that you always ask is, what else do these same people need? What else do my course creators want and need? What are they asking me for? What are they begging me for? And that's where Course Cats came from, Conversion Cats, all these great things that you now offer. The other related education and other courses that you now offer, all closely tied to your core audience that came to you for your core program on day one. I'm pleased to say now, because again, slow kid on the bus, all of my programs are now tightly related to that speaking-driven professional. It's a mentorship program. We're doing some things now with speaker websites. We're doing some things now with speaker video, because those are marketing tools and marketing assets that experts who speak professionally need. And I've totally turned off everything else. No more book marketing, no more coach marketing, no more consultant marketing, no more, private coaching workshop, group coaching workshop, no more sales training. I've baked the relevant parts of those other programs into my main flagship program so that my people get everything that they need, everything that they want, with no fat and no extraneous nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because, and we're going to break down this program. I want to break down this, where you're at now, because I'm going to be very interested in this for sure. And people listening are going to love this. But yeah, that's a great point, is that there's the constellation of random products, right? Or almost random ones. And then there's the other idea that you've got this core product that's basically the sun. And then as you very carefully decide to add things in, they go around the sun. You still have your core product, but you've got some other things that might make sense. Where I see people running into trouble is they create like 5 core products, and then it's mass confusion. What is this? Where do I start? What do I do? What do I, different things like that, right? So now I want to know, and I really don't know about this. I'm super excited to learn about this. Tell us now about your program now with the mentorship. How does it work? What's it cost? Because this is now a little bit different. You've taken it to another level now that's taking you now to 7 figures. So tell us about that with the websites, and what's the core offer, and how does it all work? Because I am fascinated to find this out.
So I started out doing this group coaching, right? And a friend of mine says to me, this was like a year or two ago, you have to figure out how you can add so much value to that group coaching. And remember, that was $1,200, right, back in the day. How can you do the same sort of thing and 10x the price? And I was like, no, no, no. Every good idea that everyone has ever told me, David, my immediate answer is no, 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 no. That's crazy talk. I said, no one's going to pay $9,000, $10,000, $12,000 for something like this. She said, well, you got to figure out a way. Otherwise, you're not going to make more than a couple $100K and kind of be stuck in this plateau. So I really took that to heart. And I said, okay, the course is great. The course is totally fantastic, world-class course on the business of speaking. Why are people not more successful? They're not more successful because they don't have the access to me, the guidance, the mentorship, the ability to ask questions in real time, the ability to say, okay, I've done modules 1 and 2 and 3. Oh, I hit a wall in module 4. David, how do I go under it? How do I go over it? How do I make a left turn? How do I make a right turn? How do I, innovate and flex and get around this problem? So I figured, okay, if getting in their own way is the worst problem, my new job in this mentorship model is to give them everything that they need to be successful, which means real-time answers, weekly mentoring. We now have a copywriter, an awesome, amazing copywriting staff that helps them with their written material. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, twice a week between 90 minutes and 2 hours, group mentoring. And there's also, so we use Zoom now, we use Zoom video. And there's breakout rooms, so they can get a breakout room with our copy coach. They can get a breakout room with our sales coach. They can get a breakout room with me. So depending on where they are and what they're working on, there's breakout rooms. And they get exactly, here's the mantra. It's just enough, just in time. So we've got people saying, hey, I'm working on a $10,000 speaking gig. David, can you have a quick look at the proposal? I said, yes, I can. David, I'm having a real hard time. I can't get my mindset around, like, where are the prospects that have this budget? And so we do a whole prospecting and outreach hot seat with them. So it's real time, just enough, just in time mentoring to get them unstuck and moving towards that next check in the door. So, and I also had to put this beyond myself, right? It's no longer the David Newman show.
You had to hire a couple people, it sounds like, or at least
exactly.
Contract a couple of people, yeah.
So we've got, the fabulous copy coach. We've got our mindset coaches, sales coaches.
Are they employees or are they contracted?
They are in a contract basis.
Got it. So you bring them into this program. So now you've got all this other stuff, if you will, in the program. Now, here's my 2 questions for you, Dave. First of all, how much does it cost? Or what are the levels? Are there levels? Depending on how they buy, when they buy, where they buy, it's going to be somewhere between $9,000 and $12,000. Okay, so that is not a low ticket item, my friend. That is very different than, say, from anything less than that, right? So that's a big amount. My question, and this has helped you now scale to the 7 figures, correct? I mean, so in terms of where do you see the difference between something like what you just mentioned versus David Newman's stressed out group and personal coach?
Well, so I mean, let's even break that down by the schedule. Twice a week, 2 hours a week, right? I have to be somewhere now, 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock on Tuesdays, 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock on Thursdays.
So 4 hours for you.
4 hours. Now, is there more work? Of course there is, because we're doing mentoring with a Facebook group. We have a help desk system. There's lots of action going on. But the fact that I can now do that work at 5 a.m. when I get up, I can do it at 10 p.m., I can do it in the middle of the afternoon, I can do it whenever. My calendar is now back in my control.
Mm-hmm. It's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, meetings, coaching. You're talking about, hey, couple things I like on my calendar here, Tuesday, Thursday for 2 hours, good to go. Everything else is on my time. If I want to do it in the middle of the night while laying in bed, I can do it. If I want to do it at 10 in the morning, I can do it. It's your choice.
Yep. So that has added a huge amount of flexibility. And I will tell you the other hugely gratifying thing, more so than my flexibility of my schedule, is the success stories since we've added the mentoring. We had some great success stories when it was course by itself. But those people, as you know, David, those people are the driven, the focused, the hardworking.
Self-motivated. Give me the blueprint. I'll freaking do it.
And they were able to run with it and have fantastic results. Since we added the mentoring, the size and scale and frequency of these success stories has literally magnified. that most of the people that come through the mentorship, if they do the work, they get amazing immediate results, so much so that even they are surprised. They are surprised. And, when you get that first $7,500 check for a speech and you've never been paid more than $1,000, and the difference is that a different number left your mouth when you were talking to the buyer, and they said, sure, no problem. Here's what I tell them. I said, please just don't drop the phone. Just do not drop your phone. Don't drop the phone on the floor. That might cause some damage. Say, thank you, I can't wait to work with your group, and hang up politely.
Got it. Now, I gotta ask some good questions here. I've been sitting, my brain is going. You ready for the good questions, David? So first of all, let's talk about the structure here just to make sure I understand it, everyone listening understands it. First of all, as words are important, you call this what? A mentorship program. Is that what you call it now?
Exactly right.
Okay. So you don't call it this or that. It's a mentorship program. It's not a workshop. It's not a blueprint. It's the mentorship program. Okay. Now, just to make sure I understand this, there's several elements of this mentorship program. One element is you still have your core course, right? Like your modules and training. Is that part of it?
That is the center of it.
That is the center. So everything is centralized around that.
Let me also be clear that if I did not build the course according to your specifications and guidance and help, we would not have any of this empire standing right now.
Yeah, well, for sure. But now you've it's like that old song thing. It's like you do it and then you innovate, right? Like you do it,
That's right.
do it, innovate. So now you're at a different level, which I love. I mean, but you've got the core training here. So the training is the training, okay? What you've added around that training is more group and personalized help for people with a variety of different things. Now, I just want to make sure I understand. First thing, and by the way, do people get this for a certain period of time, or is it a yearly, or is it forever, or how's it work?
They get to work with us during the active time of the mentorship, and then after our active time is over, they get evergreen access to the training portal.
Okay, so and how long is access to the mentorship?
It's 90 days.
Okay, so you get 90 days. You get a full 3 months of mentorship here. So, and then after that, do you get is there a Facebook group or anything, or just on the course?
There is a Facebook group for the active folks. There's also a Facebook group for our alumni.
Got it. So it's both. So it's so your people that are in the 90 days have a Facebook group, and the people that are after their 90 days also have a Facebook group. Now, just to make sure I understand what the kind of mentorship add-ons are here. So you've got your twice a week office hours, where it's you and also now a team that you've built that helps them out during these hours. Is there anything else? I mean, you just mentioned the Facebook group. Is that basically the core offer?
So yes, it's me. It's help with copywriting, help with mindset, and help with sales. And those are 3 different people that we have on our team that handle that. And that's also in between the calls, of course. So we have a help desk system. They can submit a help desk ticket, and then the appropriate team member responds with an answer or some solutions, or we hop on a quick call. There is the Facebook group that you mentioned, and that's it.
And the course. And what my point is of this is that some people might be thinking this. They might hear price point. They might hear that higher price point, start freaking out, and start thinking, which is totally not true at all, thinking, oh my God, David's about to list off 50 different things that you guys do, right? But at the end of the day, that's not really going to help anyone get results if you had 50 different things. That's just going to confuse people and waste their time, right? Instead, you've now worked it down to here's the core ways we can help people. It's the help desk. It's this or that. Which leads me now to this question, David, is talking about the selling and marketing of this. Obviously, big jump. I mean, before you did this, what was your course price? Before it was turned into the mentorship program? Because I know what it is, but go ahead.
Okay, so here's the David Siteman Garland Rise to the Top podcast pissing off a lot of my current clients because 10 years ago, I was selling, I mentioned that we sold the group coaching for $1,200. When I coursified it, we dropped the price, so it was $997, which was the course by itself. And so this is like a 10x bump in the price, because really it's a 20x bump in the value.
Right. Okay. So, and I get that, right? And I understand that, and I love that you're able to do that. How has selling this changed from the way you used to do things? Do you sell it now in a different way? How do you kind of look at it in terms of price and value for people as well? Because I mean, I understand, because it's a very different thing or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not a very different thing to sell it at this level, but you tell me what's been working for you.
Sure. Well, it is very different because we now hop onto a phone call. This is not, click the buy button and give David $10,000, $12,000. This is, let's have a call. Number one, let's see if we can really help you. Number two, let's see if we want to. Because if you're some kind of, psychotic, crazy jerk, or you have an unmarketable topic, or you're kind of a coaching junkie and you're not going to implement, we really don't want to work with that kind of person. So it's a mutual qualifying conversation.
And do you have a person? I think you have a person that does you're not on every call, right? This is like someone.
I used to be on every call, and now we have a team of enrollment coaches, and it really is a coaching process, not a sales process. So it's a question-based process about, hey, are these the outcomes that you want? And are you ready to, make a commitment and make these outcomes happen? So we do have some enrollment coaches that are on our team, and it's different because it's more of a pull than a push. So, for example, when a lot of people say, well, this isn't for everybody and we don't work with everybody, but truly we don't work with everybody because we don't want to just get someone into the program. We're looking all the way ahead to that testimonial video that's 90 days from now saying, oh my God, David and Teresa and Allison and the whole team changed the course of my business.
So what do you look for? Yeah. So what do you look for that type of person?
Well, I think we're looking for three things. We're looking for coachability, we're looking for attitude, and we're looking for commitment. We don't want the person to fight us on every piece of advice. We don't want the person to argue with the mentoring. We don't want the person to come in going, no, I've already tried that. That doesn't work. That's never going to work. We don't want the negative Nellies and the naysayers. And because remember, there's still a group component to this. You bring one negative person like that into the group, and the rest of our clients kind of look at us, go, hey, what, you having a slow week? Who let him in?
Right. It's the one bad apple syndrome. And by the way, I'm not going to name names because that's not how we roll here on the Rise to Top podcast. But I was once in a group that was definitely the complete opposite of this, David. Meaning they tried to say, we don't sell everyone, we don't let everyone in. But basically it was anyone that had the money got in. Right. And I know you, and I know you don't do that. And I know that you actually have integrity here where you're actually looking for people that you want to help, that want to be helped by you, that are the perfect fit. And if they're not, you're going to pass. And that is why you're going to go places, obviously go even further places than you already have. I know people, and this is a big name. I'm not going to mention names. That's not what this show's about. But I remember being in there and be like, oh my God, they would literally take anyone with a pulse that had X dollars, but they like to pretend and say it's very exclusive and this and that or whatever it might be. And I just spotted that and it just made me feel bad. I was like, this is not good. And so you really do have to stick to those principles of like, these are the people we want. And even if they're on the fringe and we're not really sure, maybe it's not a good idea,
That's such a great point because we typically default to no. We don't default to yes, we default to no. And then if they actually jump over the fence again and say, no, I'm serious. No, I'm willing to flex my topic. No, I'm willing to charge higher fees, right? They really have to prove that they are going to do the work. And I'll tell you, because here's why. When you put this into context, we're talking about $5,000, $6,000 kind of speakers. After 2 gigs that they get, our program pays for itself. In fact, they're in the black. They're already ahead. Once they've booked 2 speeches at 55 or 6,000, that's what we want. We want someone to come in and say, you know what? I made my money back in 4 weeks. I made my money back in the first 7 weeks. I made my money back even before the program was over. And then some, and then some, and then some, and then some. So if they're not bookable, if we don't see a topic, if we don't see the demand, we are not in the business of taking money from people. We're in the business of multiplying their investment in their own speaking success.
Nice. I love that. Now, here's a question too. So in terms of where you found these people, obviously, I'm sure there's many that are on your email list. Has there been any, like you said, it's more of a, what'd you call it, like a pull than a push, which I get. Where have these folks been coming from? I mean, because I think I went to your website the other day. What's the link? We'll give some links out later too. If someone wanted to check out this program, there's a link where you can, I think, set up a call, or do you have to go through a webinar first? Like, what's the sales process for that?
Yeah, well, we do like to educate folks, and we do an awful lot of content marketing, and we do there's an action guide, there's a video series, there's all kinds of
All
fun
kinds of stuff that leads you to the call to action, which used to be purchase my one-off course, and now it's hey, let's set up a call for this mentorship program.
Yeah, let's
right?
set up a call, see if and how we can help you, and if we can, we'll let you know, and if not, we'll point you to some other resources or some other people that can. And that the genuineness of that promise, because really, I even tell our enrollment coaches, David, I say that there's only two things that need to happen on these calls. Number one, you need to see if we can help this person. Are they bookable? Are they marketable? Do they have what it takes? Are they committed? And are they not a jerk? Are they not a big jerk face, to use a DSG term?
Damn right. Damn right. We don't want to, because ain't nobody got time for that. Mr. Your enrollment coaches, everybody. We got no time for that. I love it. So where have you noticed, kind of last question here, and then we're going to kind of wrap up a couple different things here as well, have you noticed, has there been a specific inbound place that has been better than others, or are people just coming from it? What have you seen?
Well, so we do some Facebook ads, and we also do some live webinars that we market through email lists, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Plus, the whole Twitter, the whole social realm, and so we get some new things there. But I will tell you, the webinar format that you teach, even though I've modified it and customized it and added to it, but that skeleton webinar, you would still recognize. You would still recognize that format. All of the psychology, the social proof, the value, the specificity of the outcomes. So we've done really, really well with the teach to sell marketing strategy rather. So we teach. Some people book a call, some people buy, some people don't. I know this was on your old website. One of my proudest moments is when someone was on my webinars repeatedly, never bought anything.
Oh, I know it's coming here. It's still in all my webinars. Go ahead.
And he sent me a paper check in the mail for $100 saying, David Newman, thank you for all of the incredible value and teaching and training and generosity. I can't afford to enroll in your program, but I wanted to give you something to show you how much I appreciate all of your free content. And he wrote me $100 check. Now, that check is framed. It's in my office, so good on this guy. He never had to pay me because I framed the check. Did not cash the check, but I framed the check. That's how we need to be of service to our audience. That's how we need to be giving, and then we earn the right to invite them into a program, invite them into a course, or even invite them into a conversation on how we can help them further. But that $100 check, David, that was 100%, by the way, following your guidance and your strategies, that's why the guy sent me the $100 check, is because we give value like crazy, just like you teach.
I love it. And by the way, you can find the photo of David Newman and the $100 check and pretty much every webinar that I do. I love using that as an example when someone says, oh, I'm worried about giving away too much free stuff nobody's going to buy. No, that's not true, my friends. That is very much not true. We use that as an example that when people have high quality free stuff, they say, oh my God, if this is the free stuff, I can't even imagine how amazing the paid stuff is. And you can check that out at createawesomeonlinecourses.com. If you take the free webinar there, look for that slide with David Newman and the $100 check. It is in there, my friends. Don't try to print it and cash it though. It's up on David's wall. Okay. Now, Dr. Newman, as we wrap up here, we're going to give some links out, some things like that. If anybody wants to check out more about you in a second, just want to ask kind of a good wrap-up question for those that are listening here and, maybe they're getting started on their course creating journey, or maybe they're further along and they're thinking, oh man, this is interesting. Maybe I could start thinking about this mentorship thing. Maybe it's resonating with some people right here. What would be some words of advice you would give to them?
Well, I think it all starts with the course, because course equals freedom. Whether you just sell the course, whether you do the course plus, like I'm doing, I'll tell you what else building a course does. Building a course is like writing a book, except luckily it's easier. It captures lightning in a bottle. So you might have some incredible genius on making guacamole or teaching dogs to speak or whatever it is that your topic is, business topic, personal topic, health, wellness, hobbies, doesn't matter, sports. When you codify it and you capture it in an online course, it makes you so much more masterful in your content, when you speak, when you coach, when you do your other distribution methods of your expertise. So not only from a financial standpoint will it catapult you to the next level, it will also catapult your expertise, because by organizing and codifying your content, you are sharpening your content and you are solidifying that expertise of that mountaintop that you already own. So I can't recommend it highly enough just for those reasons. Then let's say you do speaking plus a course, consulting plus a course, coaching plus a course. I'd have a hard time imagining anyone's business model where you would not be making at least an additional $10,000 a month. We're at about 10 times that right now, so that's great, that's awesome, but that was a journey, that was a progression. I was thrilled in the early days when I was making $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month with my course. That's like 5, 6, 7 sales. I was thrilled when I was making my first $20,000, $25,000 month, right? That was 20, 25 sales, and it was great. And like David said, nothing wrong with that model. And of course, now David's doing many, many, many millions of dollars. And so that's nothing wrong with that either. But don't forget that we all start with zero. And you first have to crawl before you walk, before you run, before you fly. All this like instant million. And I see this in my business all the time. The millionaire speaker, overnight success nonsense. Not true, not happening, not what David teaches. David teaches the step-by-step exact, and I mean exact with a capital E, exact system. And we have this joke, of course, inside the CAOC Facebook group, right? Hashtag follow the system. Don't overthink it. Do the steps exactly and verbatim as David lays out, and you will have success. If you want to build on that, accelerate that, awesome. If you want to have a beautiful $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month business just with selling courses, God bless you, and go do that.
I love it. And David, I think you highlighted something really important there, is that's part of this freedom and flexibility, is that once you follow a system, once you get it to a point where, you're at, high growth, and that's different for everybody. That might be several 100,000. It could be more. It could be less. And you're thinking, okay, well, now I can start trying some things like this. That's where but you have the foundation. You had the foundation of a successful course. You had the foundation of successful students. You had honed your expertise. So your path has just been an awesome one. So, thank you so much for being a completely open book, sharing all this cool stuff. I love these numbers. I love this. Big kudos to you. And by the way, there's some people, I'm sure, listening here that maybe want to, add speaking to their business or just see what you're up to, want to go stalk you a little bit, not in a good way, folks, in a good way. What are some links people could check out and find out more about you, Mr. Newman?
Sure thing. Let me give you just a couple of quick ones. My main website is Do It Marketing. And if you want to check out this free web training that we've been talking about, it's doitmarketing.com/webinar. If you're more of a print kind of gal or guy, you want to have something in your hands to print out or a PDF to watch on your screen, I also have an action guide for 6 strategies to rapidly accelerate your speaking-driven business. That's on my other website, which is davidnewman.com/action-guide.
There we go. We're going to link that all up. And you know where you folks can find all these links if you're sitting there and like, oh my God, I'm driving in my car, can't remember link. Don't worry. Just remember this link, therisetotop.com/episode 15. And when you go there, you'll get all these links. We'll have everything that David even mentioned. Our very, very smart editors will make sure that they are plucked out, linked up, and ready for you underneath there. So thank you, David. This has been awesome, my man. And again, keep it up. I'm very proud, even though you might be a year or two older than me, somewhere around there. I feel like a very proud papa at this moment. So I'm very proud of you. Congratulations. And thank you for sharing everything.
Thank you, Uncle DSG.
All right, my friends. So that was David Newman. Boy, that was just a fascinating conversation, if I may not say so myself. I know I picked up some interesting things. It's just, I don't know. Just listening to these stories, I hope you find them very inspiring. There's actionable stuff in there. There's lots of ideas that you can do for your business that you picked up from there. So a few things on the way out here. Of course, you could subscribe to the show at therisetotop.com/subscribe. All the subscription options are right there, all the different stuff. If you want to directly go to iTunes, you can go to therisetotop.com/iTunes, subscribe up on there. And if you're liking the show, give us a little review. Give a little love on the old iTunes as well. And one more final link on the way out. You heard David mention he's a proud graduate of my Create Awesome Online Courses program, which we've mentioned, of course, here on the Rise to the Top podcast with now over 4,000 students in over 100 countries. And if you want more info and you want to unlock a special offer to come join us in Create Awesome Online Courses and get the entire course and bonuses and access to the private Facebook group that we talked about in this training where you'll be able to ask questions. You'll have a helpful community along with my team and myself helping you out in there as well. You can unlock a special offer for Create Awesome Online Courses just for listeners of the Rise to the Top podcast at createawesomeonlinecourses.com/unlock. So it's createawesomeonlinecourses.com/unlock. All right, my friends, I will see you next week for a brand spanking new episode of the Rise to the Top podcast. I'm David Siteman Garland, aka DSG. And remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.